as AI and extended reality XR technologies like virtual and augmented realities become more powerful, do you think visualization will transcend the static and the observational and become increasingly exploratory and interactive?
I don't know. I guess that like everything in visualization, it will greatly depend on what we want to achieve with it. I mean, sometimes a non-interactive, completely static graphic that is very well polished or very well designed tells a story, and then you don't need any sort of interaction or virtually a reality gimmick in order to make the visualization more effective. You just don't need it. You just tell the story with the. But in some cases, applying immersive technologies may be helpful. I mean, I've seen examples, for example, of scientific visualizations of, let's say, the human heart, a high resolution 3D depiction of a human heart represented in virtual reality that lets you walk inside a living human heart. How amazing is that? It's incredible, right? But in that case, the technology serves a purpose. So you can explore the heart, the living heart, from the inside. That's the purpose, and it really achieves it. That you cannot create the same experience with a static visualization. So yeah, if it serves a purpose, yes, by all means. I mean, these technologies will serve a purpose. When it comes to artificial intelligence, that's way above my pay grade. I honestly don't know where we are going. I don't know. I fear, I'm a little bit worried about any sort of prediction. The way that I'm using for now, I'm using GPTs to generate code just because I'm super lazy and I don't want to write code, and I prefer to use natural language, right? Speed up the code to create this type of graphic with this type of variables, whatever, and then that generates the R code that I can copy paste and then edit, because it always needs editing, to generate my own visualizations. But I'm very aware that this is a very limited and probably short-sighted way of using all these technologies. I don't know. Time will tell. I don't know.
Yeah, in my experience, for sure, and I've had an episode on this before in the ChatGPT interface provided by OpenAI. They have a compiler so that you can be running code right there. So you can provide, say, a CSV file
Hmm.
of your
Hmm.
data, and you can just provide natural language instructions. In fact, you could make it extremely vague to start. You don't even need to have.
And I absolutely love that, because I don't like to code. I really don't like to code. I mean, I use R quite a bit, and I love R. Don't get me wrong. R is a great technology, but it doesn't feel human. That's not how humans communicate with each other. So all these technologies are great for someone like me who prefers to have a conversation, in this case with a machine, trying to describe to the machine what is it that I want to achieve, and then fine tune all the details. Oh, I don't really like this axis. Can you change the color of that to this? And then you see the results in immediately. How wonderful is that? I mean, that's great. So I see all these technologies, at least for now, as an extension and a less abstract way of interacting with the technology.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, so for listeners, back in episode number 708, I talked about the ChatGPT. At that time, it was called their code interpreter, and now
Mhm.
it's called advanced data analytics. But I guess they gave it that name because most people were using it for data analytics. But in fact, that undersells the huge breadth of what you can do with this, being able to upload files and ask it to generate Python code to run on whatever you upload, or you wouldn't even need to upload anything, but it runs right there in the browser, produces results. And so you could upload a CSV of some data, and you could say, visualize all these columns for me, and it
Mhm.
will figure out an appropriate kind of visualization. It'll take a guess, and often quite a good guess,
Mhm.
at what kinds of visualizations to create for each of the individual data points. It might even automatically, without you asking, start doing plots comparing multiple of your columns at the same time. And yeah, so that kind of thing, definitely exciting. And I haven't played around with this myself. In that episode number 708, I do a hands-on code demo so that if you watch the YouTube version, you can actually see the code running. And I provide 5 hacks for data scientists. But something that it didn't occur to me to do in there was to try to be creative with the visualizations. So to try to see, you're piggybacking on the intelligence of tons of designers, the kinds of people that you interviewed in your book, people who, the bigger the impact that an individual has had, the more likely their kinds of principles or ideas will make its way
Mhm.
into the training data for GPT-4 in this case. And yeah, will have an impact on the kinds of creativity that you could have with these visualizations. So that's
It speeds up the work. That I think that all again these are augmentation technologies. They just make the process of designing graphics and the analysis perhaps faster, more effective. But you still need the human being in there to intervene and edit and make choices with the technology.
for sure. Yeah, at least at this time, the human being still has the best idea of the context and the message that we're trying to convey to a particular audience, for sure. You have a lot of history pushing the boundaries of what we do with technology in the early 2000s at El Mundo, that same Spanish newspaper we were talking about earlier. You experimented with emerging tools like Macromedia Flash for producing.
Those were the times. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, you've been experimenting with interactive graphics 20 years ago, and then 10 years ago in 2012, you created the first MOOC, massive open online course in journalism. So that was called Introduction to Infographics and Data Visualization. Yeah, do you see? We're talking about the future and how things are changing. Do you think that online platforms for journalism, data visualization, education will make a bigger and bigger impact as years go on?
Yeah, sure. And one of my interests these days actually spreading the word about data science and data literacy and scientific reasoning. So, and we need to take advantage of the technologies at hand, the technologies that are available, or perhaps not even technologies. I mean, how would you bring all these skills to the classroom? And when I say the classroom, I'm not referring to the university classroom, but to K-12 education. It's like, why do we teach our kids arithmetic and algebra and calculus, but we don't teach them statistics? And when I say statistics, I'm not referring to statistical calculations of averages, measures of central tendency, whatever, but sort of like the reasoning behind all that. Why are those useful? What they are useful for, and how to apply them to their lives, and how we can show children that all these calculations and all these methodologies may be applicable to not only to sort of like traditional types of statistics like life expectancy and poverty and things like that, but to things that they really care about, such as cultural data, it's like data related to music, data related to movies, and so on and so forth. So how do we get a level playing field when it comes to data science, right? How we bring not only the experts up to speed, but the rest of the world, the rest of people up to speed with all these technologies to provide sort of like these elementary but still workable understanding of what data science and data visualization entail.
Yeah, digital education around the globe, particularly paired with some kind of generative AI tool for answering questions in the flow.
Again, these types of technologies will lower the barrier of entry if you
Yeah.
will learn how to use them well. Because again, if you want to create, and again, this is wonderful for people like me. It's like I don't like to code, and most people don't like to code. We prefer to use natural language, so we can teach people how to reason better with the data with the help of all these new technologies. I think that that's wonderful.
Yeah, in episode 730, I had the CTO of GitHub on the show, and he was talking about how GitHub Copilot is so useful for coders because it's right in the flow. And it didn't occur
Mhm.
to me at that time, this idea of flow, like Mikhail's idea
Easy
of flow.
misali. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Where yeah, yeah, that's it kind of takes it to a new level of depth when he talked about these tools allowing you to stay in the flow. Now I'll really be thinking about it is that kind of deep state, that meditative state that these kinds of tools facilitate, making those kinds of things more enjoyable. So at the University of Miami, you are the director of the Center for Computational Science Visualization Program. And so you're really at the forefront of how computing can be changing data journalism and information design. Is there anything else you'd like to add for our audience on how emerging practices or technologies could shape this field in years to come?
Yeah, paradoxically, I would ask people to think a little bit less about the new thing and a little bit more about how we can use more effectively the technologies and knowledge that we already have. So yeah, I'm super excited about the possibilities of artificial intelligence for what we do. Absolutely, I want to embrace that. I want to experiment with that. But there's still some base knowledge that we need to convey to people. It's like people out there still don't know, and when I say people, I refer to a substantial portion of the population, still don't know how to interpret a scatter plot correctly. So that's what we need to teach. We need to focus a little bit more on that, not so much on developing new high end technologies, but again, on bringing everybody else up to speed with elementary knowledge about all these matters. I think that I would ask people to focus a little bit more on that.